All right, we're live right now. So.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So basically, we have to kind of discuss like how the ISAT can be used for screening, progress, diagnostic, and outcome decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to start? I can start. I don't know.
You can start. Sure. That's
All right.
you go for it.
I just have a couple notes that I wrote down for each area. Just see what you guys think. So I said the ISAT could be used as a screener, but like the validity of that assessment or that, is it assessment or test?
Hi.
Assessment. Oh, you made it.
I did. Sorry, I was just getting home from work.
Oh, you're
There's
fine.
like traffic and
We just started, so you're good.
Just started. Yeah. It's not made. The ISAT's not made to be a screener, so that's not its primary function. But I said that it could be used as a screener. Maybe the student is scoring, extremely low in the reading ISAT, so maybe that could push for further evaluation. I think it could definitely be used as a screener to say, oh, that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my take on that. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, I would totally agree with that. I mean, like, this isn't, like, with our STAR testing, like, we kind of do that as well. Like, oh, they scored low in this, so this is where we need to work on their skills and how we can help them do better. So like you said, for ISAT, we can look at those specific areas and see what we need to work on with them. So, yeah.
Well, that would be my kind of thinking with that, though, is that, in terms of like special education, I mean, that would be, if you're looking at from RTI, I mean, that would be more of like a tier 1 to tier 2 kind of screen. That was kind of my thinking of that. I mean, if you're looking at something like SPED, I mean, there should be screening of that before we get to the ISAT.
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could be 504. Yeah, it could be that initial evaluation. Yeah.
That's a good point.
I guess I would have to agree with Chloe. I think it definitely gives you a baseline, but because usually it's just below basic, proficient. And I do believe they give you grade placement, which of course doesn't mean much, but I think that like the STAR reading and that stuff that we can give and get an immediate information to use is more special ed friendly. I guess maybe you'd call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually looked up the definition of ISAT. I just wanted to see like what the internet had to say, and it said the purpose of the ISAT is to assess your ability to understand and analyze material you'll be given, not to test your knowledge on specific academic subjects. So I kind of thought, I guess I always thought it was to test your academic knowledge, but they're really looking at your ability to understand the material. And I feel like a lot of our kids don't have great test-taking skills as it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting.
They're looking for a lot of the skill of being able to like generalize what you've learned. And like analyzing and putting that to using the skills you've learned and generalizing them, I think. Yeah, not exactly. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think that kind of one of the points, what you just said right there, is it a generalization question? Where is, I mean, you could there's any number of places where things could go awry, but the question is exactly why and what is that? And that's why I kind of need the right tool for the job. I was at the meeting just yesterday, and we were kind of lamenting a little bit about like the Woodcock Johnson even, and I mean that is a diagnostic test, but if the hang up is on like long vowels versus short vowels, you're not going to get the same result, and because that isn't necessarily something that particular test takes into account. So there is that part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I'm glad that you kind of brought up the ISAT because I am like not familiar with it at all. So, using it and how it's scored and the types of questions that are on it and information because I'm new to Idaho.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so in every state does it, so differently. And I mean, when I was in Virginia, they do every year standardized testing, starting from 3rd grade, I think, all the way up to 12th grade. But then where I grew up, you do testing until 8th grade, and then you don't do testing in high school. So it's all kind of different. We take the, oh my gosh, I don't remember. There's like one of the acronyms. You take it as a sophomore, and that's how you graduate. But it's not a yearly thing. And so that was when I moved to Virginia, that was something that I had to get used to. And then now kind of switching gears and coming on over here, it just has something else to kind of think about.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the ISAT like once, as I was only ever really, I did monitoring for some student testing time that I've seen the ISAT, so I'm not all that familiar with it either, really. My kids are more familiar with it than I am.
I remember taking them.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. All in a little computer room. Like,
yeah.
Clicking away. We got free snacks.
I took the Iowa Basics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You took the Iowa Basics?
Yeah. Fill in all the little bubbles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it'd be much easier now that it's computerized, but
Easier to grade, easier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in looking over the topic, you talked about the ISAT specifically, but also said just like how assessment can be used for more than one purpose. But like I said, that my first red flag for any of that though is just like questions of validity, because I mean, even when we're using the test for the intended purpose, we have to ask ourselves, is this really measuring what it is that
right?
Or,
that's what I was kind of thinking too. Like, you have to take that into account, and even though you might want to use it as a screener, like you could be like, if something was a red flag, you might be like, hey, this is probably I could use this as a screener, but yeah, it's the validity. Is that there? You have to always take that into account.
Mm-hmm.
the other thing to take into account is you never know if they're really taking that test, really. Just like we do with the STAR tests, you never know when they are clicking through it so fast. You just never know if it's real for them.
If it's a good depiction.
That's a really good point. A lot of my students have dyslexia, and it's really difficult for them to read a whole passage, so they just get frustrated and click to the next thing. So that's a really good point. Like, are they taking their time, and are they really trying, so we can get an accurate score for them to see what we need to work on. So that's a good point.
Bringing up that, I mean, we talked about this past week on accommodations. I mean, is that there for them to have the questions read, or text to speech or something like that?
I'm trying to think what my kids did last year. I think
I answered on yours, Shlomo. nowadays, and just with our recent ISATs, everybody has headphones.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
that certain parts of the test can be read to students if they want it, and then those students that have that accommodation are with everybody else and not feel like different because they're the only ones that have the headphones.
Right, because that's right. Remember that, because they all have headphones. Because there's parts of it that are just read or period,
Yes,
that are verbal period. Right.
And I know I administered the Woodcock Johnson last year, and it was like through my school, and so it wasn't for the school's purpose, but my student just had to make a pattern with all the bubbles and like filling some parts in, and it was kind of just like they got some of them right, but they weren't reading the question. They were just going through marking. My girl likes to make squiggles if she doesn't know anything. Like if she doesn't know the answer to the question, she'll just make like a pattern and like pretty squiggles on it. Then it's like, can we really use this to effectively assess anything? Because I don't know what they know.
So
that's when you have to think, like, you really have to work as a team to think what assessment is going to be good for this child. Yeah. You have to individualize it. Yeah.
So to use this, I mean, can this really be used as a diagnostic tool, or do we just have to do it as individual basis? Like, oh, we know that this student is going to really try their hardest, and we know that this student is going to buzz through it. I mean, is it possible to use it as a diagnostic decision for the ISAT?
Diagnostic codes. Look at some of the other ones: screening, possibly; progress, possibly; outcome decisions. That I would kind of look at, yes, because where they are in their ISAT is where they're going to be in a lot of that kind of standardized assessment. With the ISAT alter thing, like something like that. I think that it could inform some, like you said, some screening decisions and stuff like that. But the diagnostic is the one thing where I would just say no.
Yeah, you can't plan instruction, I feel like, from that. You can't, I don't know.
Well, and to me, diagnostic, there's diagnosis in it. We're not using it to diagnose anything.
Yeah.
Right,
exactly. That you need, you need a test that's exactly designed to measure what it is that you are diagnosing.
And isn't that the school psychologist who would take on, like, if you starting to go down that road of looking for a diagnosis? Because we were in a meeting on Wednesday, and they're looking to screen.
I think there's like different. So for diagnostic, there's like the health related, but there's also like content related. There's two different pathways to take for diagnostic. I think those are very separate.
Okay.
So diagnostic in more educational terms is more of like the context. What areas do students, or they tell us where the student stands, rather than information to plan instruction. That's what a diagnostic test does.
Okay.
Like the context, if that makes sense.
Should we move on to the next question?
Okay.
Is there another question? Okay.
Another part is provide examples where appropriate and discuss any limitation. It's just how ISAT can be used to make screening progress, diagnostic, and outcome decisions, and provide examples where appropriate and discuss any limitations of a test instructional decision. Right, because
for progress.
So that because with progress, I think also is good, because then one, you can check their score like 1 year versus the other year, any other year, and then so there's progress that way, and then also in terms of norm referencing against where their same age peers are at.
Mm-hmm.
And I know too that information would be helpful. And I know we got a new student yesterday, and when he came in, we had like nothing, and so we didn't really know kind of where. And they put him with the life skills, but they didn't really know, you know, if he'd been taking different assessments, how much he was in the gen ed room, and like different, you know, we didn't really get any of those assessment scores on anything. And I think now they're like fighting with people to kind of get that, but making those decisions, you know, how much are they going to stay in a life skills setting? How much are they going to be in a gen ed class? You know, what
Mm-hmm.
are those kind of other things that maybe aren't, like there was some like complications with some of the IEPs that were confusing to people. So being able to have that extra resource and all those extra materials to make better decisions, especially when you don't have a personal connection with the student and you haven't worked with them before, and it's, you know, a completely new setting and a new environment for them. And so being able to take more than just, you know, the legal documents that we were given, but being able to get all that extra information. And now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's a good point, because your students are coming in and out all the time, and you're going to find those that don't have ISATs or have never taken a standardized test like that, where you can go and give them a STAR test or, you know, a probe really fast just to find a level to start at. And then when the ISATs roll around, because they're only once a year, then maybe you can use that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is the ISAT score provided in their IEP?
Yes.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
What about for like the alternate ISAT? Is that score is in their IEP too, right?
Yeah, because it has to be so specific with it being an alternate.
Right. So here I have a question. I have kids who take the alternate IEP, but even then, it's information that they will never, I mean, it's not, they'll never know it. So how does that, so screening progress, diagnostic outcome, is that just, you can't base any real information off of that, I feel like. Because I don't know how, like, it's not like an accurate assessment at all, I feel like. Is that, does anyone agree?
Well, yeah, that's also, you know, one end of what it is that kind of assessment would work with. I mean, you know, that I'm sure that would be fairly moderate, profound group that you're working with. Then I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess they have to take it legally.
Mm-hmm.
They have, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just not an accurate, what it's testing is not, I feel like.
See, and I get hung up on, is there any test that will be accurate, because you don't know what kind of day they had. You don't know what's going on. I mean, you're never going to catch them on a perfect day.
Mm-hmm.
There's that.
It's all about, yeah, it's
Because some days
all
they may
about
be more successful than other days.
Mm-hmm.
it's all about using multiple systems, I think, and getting that average and getting comprehensive.
Like that data over time and kind of watching it and seeing how it progresses, and then, you know, and then also being ones who are kind of working with it, administering, you can, you know, look back and say, oh yeah, you know, they had a really bad day that day. You know, off the bat, that's, you know, that explains that score, and like looking through, and it just gives you more of an idea than just one.
That's a good point, because I mean, one of the things that we've also, you know, read about and learned about is, you know, using more than one assessment to inform decisions. And when you just have something like the ISAT, that's just a once a year test. You know, that's another thing that kind of says, you know, it could be part of the picture, but you know, it couldn't possibly be used for more than that.
Mhm.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Like what Chloe said, should we base the data off like what we know about the student? Like, we know this student is going to work really hard. Like that's
Mhm.
another, just hard to know.
Like the more information from different places we can get, the better. Because ISAT, like Shlomo said, it's only one day out of the year. We don't know what kind of day they're going to have. So the more information and data, valid data that we can get, the better for us.
Oh yeah. I mean, even today I was even doing sight words, like informal collecting data, and she was not in a good mood, and she just said burp with every single word. And so every time we'd flip over a new card, it was burp. And so, like, she, it didn't even matter what my words were.
Yeah, you're like, will not be accurate. Don't use this.
So, I mean, I was going through some of it, but it just is one of those days. And then I made a little note and like next to it and was like, just, not a good day. This wasn't representative. So.
Maybe tomorrow. Be better.
Yeah, we're gonna try again tomorrow.
Right.
That's funny because when we take data on like when we're running individual IEP goals, if they're sleeping or if they're having, a rough day, we always make a little note just because the data is going to be skewed and the teacher is going to be like, why 0% accuracy? So that way she like, was sleeping or was really tired or starting.
Oh, yeah. And then communicating that kind of at home too, because like we found out yesterday that she had been up since 2:30 in the morning and she fell asleep 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent her to
Yeah, because we made applesauce and she woke up at 2:30 because she was so excited about making applesauce, which is cute, but like she fell asleep all day and we got nothing done.
Right.
Funny.
It's been a long week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Does anybody have anything else?
So I guess, well, the last part of the question is, so discuss any limitations of such a test for making any particular instructional decisions. I don't know if we really talked about like it's, did we kind of talk about that? We kind of did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Having like multiple lessons and using different tools,
Right.
not relying on anyone.
So overall, what, like out of outcome decision, diagnostic progress, and screening, did you think the ISAT encompassed the most? I said outcome decisions, just because it was comparing the student performance to like the Common Core to the standards, I guess, in order to make a judgment.
I would agree with that. Just those outcome decisions.
Mm-hmm. Would it, oh, you can go, Shlomo.
No, I was just agreeing, that's all.
Oh, okay. Like for progress, since it's only once a year, wouldn't really be progress because it's not continuous, right? Or would it be?
I wouldn't use it as progress.
It could, but we kind of said, it depends on that good day,
The
bad
day,
day.
yeah. For sure.
And also tracking like through the years, like looking at, this is where they were at last year at this time, and this is where they're at this part of the year at this time. And so like using it like a large progress.
Another thing is too, you could look at the score of the ISAT at a certain time of the year and then maybe look at other scores and other test classes just to see if it's even comparable to like the scores they were getting, because maybe that would help you look at, you know, accuracy of that data on the ISAT. Say, hey, they were paying attention in all these other classes. I'm guessing this is, you know, they were paying attention for the ISAT too, maybe.
But once again, using it as a tool with other tests,
Right?
and not
Yeah.
just using it. Yeah.
Right.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay. I can stop the broadcast, and sometimes it doesn't let me submit it. So
You can send
I
it.
can send it. Okay, cool.
Were we
If it
okay on the
doesn't
time
work,
limit?
I think we're at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or like 28 minutes.
Okay.
Is that good with you guys?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll stop the broadcast. So until next time.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.